that'll increase taxes.
We're going to get to the severance tax change in a moment, but I wanted to ask you all a question. James Constas writes in, why does the oil and gas industry in the U.S. suffer from such a poor public image when there hasn't been a major oil-related environmental disaster since the Exxon Valdez? What's going on? I mean, even he points out, says, in the oil and gas infrastructure in the Gulf of Mexico and the Gulf Coast took direct hits from Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. Are you concerned that despite all the technological advances, the industry is still being cast as a bad guy?
I think it's always a challenge for this industry and any natural resource extractive industry to communicate with the public, and I think our body politic kind of creates a situation where when there is attention due to the fact that prices are higher, politicians tend to look for a scapegoat rather than to look for solutions, and then all of the people who are participating in that debate seem to go for the lowest common denominator in terms of trying to answer why things are happening in this industry. Our industry's been very aggressive in the last few years nationally and here in Colorado of trying to be more aggressive about talking about what our industry does for Colorado, what it does for this country, and I think the results are that people are listening to our message and are responding favorably.
Adam, I'd like to add one specific case out if I can. 20% of the natural gas production in the U.S. is located in the Gulf of Mexico. During Hurricane Rita and Katrina, there was no significant oil spill or gas spill at all. Yet we lost 20% of the gas production for 3 or 4 days in the country. But our record on the environment now, I think, is improving. Do we need to do more to communicate? I think we do, and that's one of the reasons, I believe, why we're here today.
Well, I think that's why you've seen such a tremendous response from the industry about these regulations. We viewed it as an opportunity to educate people about the importance of the industry in Colorado. I'm a Colorado native. I've been in the oil and gas industry since 1980 and never really viewed Colorado as an oil and gas state. But I think we're taking that opportunity to educate people about the importance that this industry has had in this state, the long history with oil and gas development. And I think this rulemaking has allowed us to use it as a springboard to try and find a middle ground on regulations that are based on science and technology, not on emotion and hyperbole, which I know you've heard a lot of the last several months.
John, you mentioned ballot initiatives, and there are a couple actually that deal with severance tax. One that deals with transportation that a couple of state reps are forwarding, and then there's the one that the governor has backed that deals with higher education, environmental mitigation. Miles Mendoza writes in, and he does work for the Denver Scholarship Foundation, so I do need to point that out, writes, the oil and gas industry stands against the Colorado Promise, which is what the governor has termed this. If this initiative is defeated, what self-initiated action does the oil and gas industry take to support some of the initiatives that the Colorado Promise supports, that being, I assume, college scholarships, environmental mitigation?
Maybe I'll take that. First of all, there's a campaign that is going to be responding to Governor Ritter's initiative and these other initiatives, and I'd suggest that they might be the better spokespeople to cover that. The governor's scholarship plan isn't even defined, so I don't think most Coloradans know what the governor's talking about in terms of who these scholarships would go to. I would suggest to the writer of the email that more needs to be done to understand what the proposal is, and this is really a question for the General Assembly, and I would just remind your viewers that the General Assembly never had an opportunity to debate what this Colorado Promise scholarships were to look like. So this needs to be vetted by the General Assembly and not just by the voters this fall on a surprise move.
And I'd like to talk, though, about another stakeholder.
We've got about a minute left in this segment. So
another stakeholder. The low-income energy needs are such that as we increase gasoline, natural gas prices, oil prices, the low income are disproportionately affected by these things. During the Owens administration, over $9 million in severance tax was donated to low-income energy needs. Since Ritter's been in office, we haven't seen one dime. I sit on the Energy Outreach Colorado board, and I'm truly more concerned about the impact on low-income folks than any other stakeholder right now because they pay the price disproportionately.
These folks are going to be staying around answering more of your questions. We obviously have a lot more here in hand. We'll be right back.